Hello, and you are back in the Velvet Room with Joker the Fool. This is our 12th episode, and today we'll be discussing how women shouldn't vote and men shouldn't either, and how New York's demise is its own doing. So we're going to get right into this. We've got this whole concept of democracy in America when we're actually a constitutional republic, but that's a whole different discussion for another day. But one of the core tenets of democracy is voting, and universal suffrage was something that we took a while to get to, and one of these things was the 19th Amendment that allowed women to vote. And of course, you've got people saying repeal the 19th as a way to usher in this utopic society if only men voted. And I'm here to say that's ridiculous, because the best argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with the average voter, and that goes for the average man and the average woman voter. So repealing the 19th isn't going to do anything, but you've got people who latch onto that, say women shouldn't vote because it's an inflammatory statement. Pearl has gotten a shirt saying that. I think she's gone on saying all these sorts of things, and that's her shtick, is that she says all the typical red pill arguments, but she's a woman saying it, so people pay attention to that. And it's a bit sad to me to see that situation with her, in that I think she conceptualizes as herself being only either the red pill or a raging feminist, and she's just going with that because it seems more agreeable with reality to her. So that's a sad thing, but a lot of people are stuck in false dichotomies, and that's why they shouldn't be voters. Really, is that people are prone to demagoguery, to falling to what's popular, to falling in with the crowd. And that's not to say that those people are all bad or irredeemable. It's just that when you set them up in a system where it's majority wins, it's two wolves and one sheep deciding what's for dinner, you're not going to reach a good outcome. And it's even worse because we have this culture that pushes people into not being critical, thoughtful people. It's just, dopamine rushes from your phone and eating garbage food and staying inside all the time and wanting UBI and someone else to pay for all your crap or get your student loans canceled or whatever it may be. So that is why men and women shouldn't vote. We should decentralize that power to the individual and build a culture where people actually want to make their lives better by doing it themselves and helping with their local communities, rather than just going into the voter booth, pulling a lever and filling in some circles on a ballot and thinking that's all civics should be. But that is my core argument there, and it's going to set us up really nicely for the next thing that we're going to talk about, is New York's demise being its own doing. So I'm from New York, and I can personally say that New York is a confirmed shithole, and it's this way because of the culture that is pervasive in New York City. And that comes from, the end result of there being a lot of people who vote in for these terrible politicians. This is Kathy Hochul, this is Andrew Cuomo, this is Bill de Blasio, this is Eric Adams, and even, at the federal level, you've got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Chuck Schumer. They're all clowns who are just in it for the money, just in it for the clout, and they just push these Democratic policies, their policies in the sense that ruin the absolute state of New York with the way they handle crime and overregulate everything, and just decide to ship in all these migrants while there's a homelessness crisis in New York City. So of course you can't get enough homeless shelters, enough places for these people to rent when they don't have the means to do it themselves. And so many people who are citizens of New York City don't have the means to have a roof over their heads, and you're just adding more people to that problem, because it's more about getting more good boy points and saying, we have to welcome everyone with open arms, rather than saying, if we have a city of 8 million or so people and there's a homelessness crisis and people can barely afford rent, maybe we shouldn't be shipping in more people who are going to then be crunching the demand for living spaces. But that's a basic economic concept, and that's what people are allergic to, because it means that not everyone's going to get exactly what they want. It's not going to be a utopic thing where, we can just accept everyone and have everyone here and have it all be okay and work out. It's very much so a system where not everyone's going to get what they want, and there is scarcity. That is the fundamental economic principle, and extends out to a lot of things that people vote against. They're voting against there being scarcity. They're voting against people having to go without, and think the government should give everyone everything all the time. That's why a lot of people get driven to being a communist or ultra far leftist when they're young, because they have this very idealistic view of the world where they think there is a solution to give everyone everything. We can abolish scarcity, and it's just the evil rich people who are sitting on all the resources to do so, when there definitely is a case where people extract from the poor and the middle classes to enrich themselves and become ultra wealthy, and that is a problem that we need to deal with. But as I've spoken to that before, the state is complicit and enables that. So to give that state even more power means that instead of it being a handful of corporations that are functional, that are not barely functionally separate from the state, owning everything, it's just going to be the government owning everything and just running all the corporations. And of course they all fall to shit because the public sector can't do anything nearly as effectively as the private sector. And that's a very consistent thing you'll find when you study economics. And you look at histories of these communist countries, and just compare North Korea to South Korea, and you'll get a very good view of just exactly how bad the state-run economy is, how bad central planning is, because it can't control, well, not necessarily control, but it can't compensate for the complexity of people's economic situations and how those interact, and the ability to trade and have a free market and all these sorts of things that you need. Free and open markets, that you need a state that isn't going to allow people to be economic actors to the best of their ability and be as productive as possible. That's not something that happens in a centrally planned system. So that's why it's ineffective. But people want that central planning where everyone's gets everything. There is no scarcity, and that's why voting is such a bad thing, because you are appealing towards getting as many people who think like that as possible, and you want to basically just offer people that, have them go along with it and then implement it, which is why democracy creates this selfish me culture, especially now with how decentralized we are at the local level, right? So democracy was something that was brought in Athens, and this is the local community. Every one had a stake and a say in the local community, so they were trying to figure out how to manage everything, and this was the system they came up with. Now it's if you're in New York City, you're very much decentralized from how food gets on your table. Well, not decentralized, like separated from how food gets onto your table, how the resources get to you in terms of water and electricity and clothing and all these sorts of things. The supply chains are very spread out. Everything's very much separated, and people are separated from each other. There's no tight-knit communities. There's no third place that people go to other than their work and home to interact with each other. So we've got this breakdown of communities, so people are just in it to enrich themselves, or they want to vote for whoever says, I'm going to use the state to make you the most rich. And that's bringing it back to why we really should not have a democracy, and this is why New York is in the situation that is in, because it's completely and utterly appealed to these sorts of people, and most people in New York City are Democrats. They vote for these Democrats, hoping to fix everything and make it better, and it just doesn't. And there's such an effective culture against not being Republican, not being conservative, especially in the more blue parts of New York City, and that's where the most densest areas of the population are in terms of just amount of people. So this Democratic supermajority gets to keep on going, and they get to keep on ruining things because they're just in it for themselves. They're going to take and take and take until there's nothing left to take, and that day is coming soon. So tying it, I went off track there, but tying it both back to the fact that people shouldn't vote. Democracy is bad, and New York is basically the end stage of our modern democracy, TM, when we really have a constitutional republic. But we've really gotten away from that, especially, in the state level. A lot of states just don't have a constitutional republic culture. They've got a more communist culture. Just look at California, for example. But with that, I'm going to sign off. I hope you enjoyed this one, no matter how haphazard it is. And we are going to the outro now. Thank you for being in the Velvet Room with Joker the Fool. Be sure to follow my Substack, velvetroompublishing.substack.com, to read Machine to Man and all my other projects.